Hi there, my name is Toby and today I want to talk about midichlorians, or of course mitochondria. Now, in order to talk about these things, I've got to tell you a little bit more about the actual nature of the universe, the nature of life itself. So before I can tell you about mitochondria, I've got to tell you a little bit about that. Now, the universe is comprised of the force, the ether, or chi, the chi, same thing. And this is one thing, one single field of energy, potential energy. It's not physical, it's spiritual. The universe is comprised of the force, and that is spirit, spiritual. It's not physical. You cannot detect this physically. It's metaphysics, not physics. But from this field, the force, it moves. There is a disturbance. When a focused, localized disturbance of the force happens, then you've got electromagnetism, energy, manifest energy that we can detect. So that's the only thing we can detect. And the entire manifest universe is made of electromagnetism. That's it. Nothing else. There is only the force, and then you have a disturbance of the force. That is electromagnetism. And then we've got life. What is life? Well, life comes from electromagnetism, in other words, particles, atoms, but atoms are still comprised of electromagnetism. I've already talked about that quite a lot. And that is interacting directly with the force, the spirit. So my body is electromagnetism, atoms, cells, and electricity, electromagnetism, combined with spirit, metaphysics, the force. So these two things interact, and that is what is life. Now, life builds up from the very small up to us, very big. And how does it work? Well, the lowest level, the very minimal structure required for life is DNA. That's the smallest. The smallest thing is DNA. That is the smallest geometric structure built from elements that can self-replicate. And this DNA interacts directly with spirit. Spirit gives it information, and then it changes. It divides. It replicates. But it always replicates slightly differently. The spirit is creative. The force is creative. And it manifests always in a creative way. In other words, always a little bit different. Always a little bit different. That's why we're all the same, but we're all a little bit different. And that's what life is. Everything is new, growing. Growing means just a little bit different, just a little bit different. Evolving. But I've got to talk about evolution properly. It's not evolution as you think. I've got to have a proper talk about evolution one day. So DNA is the smallest. And after DNA, now the next thing above that, I am calling bacteria. This is my definition. Is my definition of it. You see, everyone else got different definitions. It's very complicated, biology. I'm making it simple. The first level is DNA. That's the minimum structure that can replicate, self-replicate. Above that is bacteria. That is a little individual organism built with DNA. So it's a bit bigger than DNA, more stuff happening. Then above bacteria, you're going to have cells. So this is my definition. I'm making it very, very simple. DNA, bacteria, cells. So you've got a single cell unit, what do you call it? Amoeba, a single-celled organism. But a cell is the basic biological structure that can be used as a building block. So you have some that are all alone, amoeba, but now you have larger organisms. And all larger organisms are built on cells. All different cells get together to create a bigger structure. So that is the very simple levels of biology and the force, how it works together. Now the bigger organisms got more and more cells, like us. Billions and trillions of cells. But they're all working together. Each one is a little organism by itself with DNA inside it, controlling it, so it's self-replicating all by itself. But they're all built together with building blocks, and you have all different types. Now something is organising all those cells to work together. And that something is the force. The force is spirit. Spirit is the one that is organizing all those cells, getting them together. It's saying, right, I want some over there. Then I think, oh, I'll have some over there. Then let's have some here, have some there. And then these guys have got to do that. These guys have got to do that. Right, now you all work together. So something is organizing the cells. That is life. That is spirit. That is the force. And that is the thing that modern science does not understand. They don't understand the force. It's spirit. It's spiritual. They can't understand it. It cannot be detected physically. So they're ignoring it. But it is real because we are alive. And they know it's real. That's why modern physics does not talk about life. They can't explain life. We just talk about atoms. We just talk about atoms. Yeah, what about life? Well, we'll leave that to biology. They'll talk about life. But what are biology talking about? Biology is still physics. You see, biology, I'm sorry to say it, is not a real science. I know a lot of you are experts in biology, but it's not a real science. I don't care about the details of it. Why? What is biology? Biology is examining the mechanics of very small things. You're looking at proteins, you're looking at cells, you're looking at bacteria, you're looking at mitochondria, you're looking at all these different things, vitamins, things, little particles moving, getting together and organizing themselves. But you're not looking at the force. These things are animated somehow. How are they animated? The real science is looking at the thing that is animating these particles, not the little processes. Okay, don't get me wrong, I'm a bit harsh. Of course, you have to study the processes. So I'm not dismissing biology, but I am saying the important bit is the force. And biology are not looking at the force. Now let me explain the force to you on another level. So below DNA, you have got still biological materials. You've got some fragments of DNA, smaller things, but they are not self-replicating, so they are not alive. There's not the force. The force cannot speak directly to them and make them do something. The only thing that can affect those particles is electromagnetism. So smaller than DNA, things are still animated, but they're just animated autonomously through electromagnetism. And sometimes they fit together. But DNA, at the level of DNA, there's a certain level of complexity. This is to do with layers of complexity. At DNA, it's complex enough that it can handle some spirit, and the spirit can tell it what to do, and it can do it. So at the level of DNA, it will self-replicate. Below DNA cannot self-replicate. It just moves around autonomously. Once you can self-replicate, you can grow. Now growth and the spirit is involved. The DNA picks up the information from spirit and grows. And everything above that can have spirit. So DNA is the only one we can call alive. And then above that we have cells. We have bacteria. Above that we have bacteria. Now bacteria are now, again, you can't really say they've got a soul. They're not at the level of soul, but they are spirit. They are still receiving spirit. They are guided by spirit. They can pick up spirit to a higher level than just DNA. And in fact, you see, DNA all by itself, it can't do anything all by itself. DNA has got to be in water. Again, I've talked about this before. But still, it needs something a bit above that to do a bit more. So really, you would say bacteria is the smallest life form. It's the smallest life form. So I'm calling DNA a life form, but it is the beginning of a life form. The smallest life form is bacteria. The next one above that is a cell, an amoeba. But here's the thing now. Here's the thing. I've got to go slightly aside. The smaller the organism, the more it is affected by electromagnetism. So below DNA, you've got biological materials, but they're just moving through electromagnetic forces. Chemistry, but chemistry is electromagnetism. sharing electrons means electromagnetism. Above that, we've got bacteria. Now, bacteria are still pretty small, so bacteria are still going to be very strongly affected by electromagnetism. You know, you can affect them in a magnetic field or an electric current. It has a powerful effect on bacteria. They're still electromagnetic. And the bigger you get, it gets more kinetic. Now, the way we can see this, look at this. Look at insects. Insects are very small. Flies, little flies, they can fly. And the reason these things can fly is, again, the smaller they are, the more electromagnetic they are. So a fly is in fact creating a powerful magnetic field and is also levitating to some degree. Now, as you get bigger, of course, it gets heavier. Now, to have a heavier thing, you've got kinetics, you've got gravity involved. You need a far more powerful magnetic field to levitate something heavy. Now, again, I've taken a bit of a diversion here, but this is interesting. See, there's a big theory about bumblebees. Bumblebees levitate, and they levitate through resonance. There's a cavity in the body of the bumblebee that resonates. So when the wings flap, they're actually resonating this magnetic cavity, and that's producing a powerful magnetic field that actually helps them to levitate. Now, the wings are, of course, still working. They're still flying with the wings. But the wings alone are not powerful enough to fly this heavy bumblebee. And someone's got to do the calculations, because the wings of a bumblebee are too small to carry this great big heavy thing around. So it is partially levitating. And we also know it's electromagnetic because it has so many hairs. Hairs are little antennae. They pick up electrostatics. So the hairs on a bumblebee are collecting electrostatics from the atmosphere, and there's a resonant cavity inside that resonates with the magnetic field, creates a powerful magnetic field around it. This allows it to levitate. It's still flying, it moves with the wings, and a certain amount of air, it's using the wings, but the wings alone are not enough to get it off the ground. It has to have a slight levitation. And if you study the bumblebee, we'll learn how to do this. We will learn about anti-gravity. But what it means is the smaller the creature, the more electromagnetic it is, the more it is controlled by the force. Do you see? Now, it means now even birds are flying. They're bigger still, got heavier weight, but now they need aerodynamics. They need to learn how to cut through the air, use air pressure to levitate. So the design will allow them to levitate through the wing structure, but also they're quite small. They can still have a lot of electromagnetic power. They've got a lot of force. They're guided by the magnetic field of the Earth. How do they know how to fly? They sense the magnetic field. And there's a guy who's got this theory. He's the only guy to say it, and I think he's correct. Ken Wheeler. I always talk about him. I leave links to his channel. He thinks he's the guy to get this. I think he's right. The birds fly. How do they navigate? They navigate because they can see the redshift in the magnetic field of the Earth. Now, I've talked about this before. If you look at my video on time dilation and time travel, I explain this. The magnetic field has a slight effect on light, and it has a slight red shift towards the North Pole, a slight blue shift towards the South Pole. Again, modern science doesn't recognize this. This is ether physics, but it means perhaps the birds can see that. They can see the slight red shifts. They know which way to fly. They know where to go on the Earth. Or at the very least, they sense it. They can sense the force. And it also means they've got feathers. Now, feathers got multi-purpose, but feathers are made of little fins. Again, little electrostatic antenna. They will pick up the electrostatics in the air. So the smaller the creature, the more electromagnetic it is, the more it has the force. Because what is the force? The disturbance of the force is electromagnetics. So, as we get bigger now to humans, now we're heavier. So now we've got more kinetics, we've got gravity. We need different type of energy as well. We need metabolic energy. We need heat. We need to be able to do physical things more. We can't levitate. But of course, that's what the Force is. The Force says we can levitate things. And all the ancient yogis, they talked about it. The Buddhist monks, they would levitate. They would levitate. Now, is this possible? We've never seen it. We've never seen it. But in theory, it's possible only and only if you could generate a magnetic field of colossal power. And I mean colossal power. We're talking 10, 20, 30 MRI scanners. So I'm not sure if you can actually levitate. I'm not sure if physically it is possible for the human body to generate a powerful enough magnetic field to physically levitate, but I don't think that's what it was about. It was about building an electromagnetic body, all by itself, an energy body. And the energy body can separate from the physical body, and that can levitate. And in fact, we can all do that quite quickly, as long as you can understand the science of the Force. So, electromagnetic body can levitate. Now, what it means, what are we doing as the Jedi? It means we're trying to collect the Force so that we can get to this level of controlling electromagnetism. So we can do very slight physical things. We're not going to have the Force like this. We can do healing. We can feel the flow of electromagnetism through the body, and if we know how to use our body, we can create a strong physical force in martial arts. That's real. So we can have more power in martial arts than you would expect. See, for me, I'm not young anymore. I'm not super strong. I don't train the gym all day. I train very little training I actually do. My training is mostly internal and awareness. But, so looking at me, you'd think I've got a certain amount of strength. But I could be probably twice or 3 times as strong as you would think. So that catches you by surprise. But if I were to meet someone who is 5 times stronger than me anyway, a big bodybuilder, 5 times stronger, he'd look at me and think he's 5 times stronger than me. But what he doesn't realise, he's only maybe 2 times stronger than me. So I still won't beat him in strength, but I will catch him by surprise. And if I use the Force, I will be faster. I will be faster than he expects. So that will give me the chance. I might just get a fast strike in, and I might be lucky in a fight. So the Force does not make you invincible, but it gives you the edge. It gives you the edge. But more important than that, fighting is not the real reason. The real reason is to develop an energy body. If you can develop an energy body, now you can move into the Force. You can travel in the Force, in the universe, outside your body. Now, this is a whole nother level. I'm going to talk a lot more about this. But for now, mitochondria. You see, our body is a collection of cells and a collection of bacteria. And we live together. It's all the same thing. What is life? Life is an organization. So these smaller things, the smallest organization of DNA and bacteria. And then everything builds upon that. After bacteria, you have a cell, and then all you have is different types of cells layering up. And the Force is the thing that organizes these things together. Now, the mitochondria live inside our cells. So these are bacteria, or what I am calling bacteria, my definition. A bacteria is an organism that can live all by itself, still built on DNA. It's the minimum self-replicating structure, but it requires DNA. DNA is like the neutron, and the bacteria is like the atom. Like that. And then the cell, that is like a molecule. And then above that, you've got all substances, everything like that is built upon that. So the same thing in life. Once you've got a cell, everything is built on cells. All life on the universe is going to be built this exact same way. And the larger amount of cells, in other words, the higher level of complexity, is the higher the consciousness, the higher the unified consciousness can be in that organism. And we as the Jedi want to be very, very high level consciousness. We're trying to achieve mastery. The higher the level of consciousness, the more you can control all these little bacteria. So the mitochondria are like the little energy batteries inside your cells. You look after them with good diet. You look after them by trying to feel good. When you're happy, when you're feeling good, enjoying life, the mitochondria are happy. When they're happy, they get together and multiply, or they divide. Just like us, when we're happy, we get together, we fall in love, and we multiply. When we're unhappy, we don't tend to do that. We're just trying to survive. It's the same principle. When the bacteria are not happy, they're just trying to survive. When they get happy, they multiply. So we're trying to feel good in our life, be mindful of our feelings. That's what the Jedi training is. Then the mitochondria will be happy, the cells will be happy, and they all multiply and divide. And we have to focus our mind to control the structure. That is the force. The force is the thing that controls the biology. So if we want to master biology, we have to master the force, the thing that controls the biology. Now diet, again, I'm going to talk properly about diet. I'm going to do a whole series on diet properly. Optimum nutrition, and even recipes. I'm planning some recipes. But for now, just want to talk about it in terms of the force. The force is the thing that controls the biology. And the biology is the cooperation, the symbiosis of bacteria. That's literally it. It's the symbiosis of bacteria. That's what we are. I'm saying cells, but cells are essentially just a slightly higher level of bacteria, ones that can be built on top of each other to create a bigger organism. So we are essentially a collective, a cooperation of tiny little organisms all working together. Just like material substance is a collection of atoms all working together. But atoms are just a neutron or a proton. There's nothing else. And a proton is still a neutron. So atoms are all still just neutrons. Neutrons got together in some way. Neutrons interacting with electromagnetism creates atoms. Neutron and electron. That's neutron and electromagnetism interact to create atoms. But that's still, and a neutron, or what is a neutron all by itself, is electromagnetism spinning around itself. Everything is just electromagnetism, which is a disturbance of the force. The force creates everything. The force creates the neutron, it creates the atom, it creates the DNA, it creates the cell, it creates the bacteria, and then it organises them all together. And that's what we are. And the Jedi then takes that, advances it to a whole nother level, where not only you get control of the biology in this body, you then control the energy and build a second body, an energy body. Then the energy body can expand out into the force. Now you go back to the force. You go back to electromagnetism, back to spirit. Now that is the force. Spirit interacting with biology. That is life. Or rather, spirit animating atoms is biology. Think about it. Think about it. I hope this made sense. Thank you so much for your time. Please do leave me any questions or comments. And again, look out for a series on optimum nutrition. I'm not quite sure when I'll do it, but it's coming at some point. Thank you so much again for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in any of these other videos here.